Supergirl doesn't know what it wants to be. It's an awful adaptation of a modern comic book classic. I left disappointed, but not for the reason you may think. Welcome to a Critic's Kitchen, where we review through food. And on today's menu, we have Supergirl. Let's start with the biggest positive of this film, Millie Alcock. She is Supergirl. She has the personality, the edge, and the acting chops to pull this character off. She should be incredibly proud of her performance. I loved her in House of Dragon, and I can't wait to see more of her in future DC projects. There's a scene where she's using her heat vision in space, and it looks badass. Maybe one of the best depictions of heat vision I've seen in a long time. She's cool, she's likable. We get to see a vulnerable Supergirl mourning her loss of her home planet without losing that punk rock attitude. Throughout the film, Millie Alcock does everything she can to elevate dialogue that often lets her down. If you take away one thing from this film, let it be this: she is Supergirl, she is great, and I want to see more of her. The action has its moments too. I was a big fan of the ship robbery sequence. The use of teleportation in a fight is always a massive plus for me. It just adds a whole different dynamic to a train robbery sequence. But most of the action lacks weight. These are huge punches, massive explosions, and yet I barely felt any impact, not just from Supergirl, but from Lobo and the rest of the villains as well. I don't know if that's an issue with the sound effects, with the CGI, but it felt plasticky almost, you know? Again, I don't feel the impact of these punches. Speaking of Lobo, Jason Momoa finally gets to play the character he's been wanting to play for a long time, and he does a pretty good job, I guess. The problem is, he's barely in the film. His entire presence feels like studio interference. Guys, no one's gonna watch a Supergirl film. They want men, okay? What's a big masculine man we can put into that film? Because that's the only way they're gonna watch a female-led film, all right? We need a big old man. Who do we have in mind? No. What was that? No. Lobo, I love it. Chuck him in there. But it doesn't really, fit in our story that we want to tell. I don't care. Chuck him in. If you removed him completely, almost nothing about the story would change. He's charismatic, and I'd happily see him return in future films, but in this one, he feels completely underutilized. There's moments where we see that sort of carefree, silly attitude contrasted to that dark, brooding, menacing vibe, but I want to see more of it, and I don't feel this was the project to introduce him. Superman also makes a brief appearance, and I actually enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I did. I was relieved that it wasn't just a cameo for the sake of a cameo, and his role in the story felt justified. They have great chemistry together. You can really feel the fact that they are siblings, that sort of awkward dynamic. And cannot forget Crypto. James Gunn, give me more of that dog, okay? I don't know what it is about him. I did genuinely think it's not gonna work having Crypto in live action, but you proved me wrong. The supporting cast is solid overall. The young girl who kicks off this revenge story does a great job, and the casting across the DCU continues to impress me. There are also some genuinely cool locations throughout the film that help make the universe feel bigger, but not necessarily build the world. A huge part of the comics was Kara seeing the death and destruction left behind by the brigands, and I feel like we barely saw that. Now this review really comes down to one question: is Supergirl a good movie? Yeah, it is. That's true. Is it a good adaptation of the comic it's based on? God, no. The original comic has clear themes about loss, identity, revenge, and the film hints at those ideas but never commits to exploring them. There's a throwaway line about the difference between Superman and Supergirl with gender themes, moments about losing a home and what that means to someone, and even the whole superhero no-kill rule, but every interesting idea is introduced and abandoned. We don't actually commit or develop any of them properly enough to add any substance to the story. It's exactly like today's meal. We're adapting a burger into a taco. Technically, the ingredients are still there on paper, but it's no longer the meal you came for. I actually think some reviewers are being a little bit too harsh. This isn't a terrible superhero film. It's certainly not the worst. It just lacks substance. The plot is predictable, it drags in places, and while the villain is intimidating, that's mostly because he's a trafficker rather than because he's particularly well written. The score is another huge disappointment. It feels like the film relies on random licensed songs instead of giving a Supergirl a musical identity of her own. Some of the needle drops completely took me out of the experience. The best needle drops elevate a scene and relate to what's happening on screen. They're not chosen a few weeks before the film came out. Look that up, apparently it's true, dear God. Everything involving Krypton looked fantastic. I loved the costumes and the overall design. My only issue with that was the scenes are spread throughout the film and it just slowed down the pacing. I think it would have worked much better if they all were placed towards the beginning, but again, these days superhero films are scared of being origin films, which isn't a bad thing. This is Supergirl's huge big debut on the big screen, you know, make it an origin. I don't mind that at all. Brief spoilers ahead, skip to this point if you want to avoid them. Have you gone yet? Have you gone? I'm gonna do it. Having Supergirl kill Krem at the end made no sense to me. Okay, especially when Lobo is right there. Lobo's entire arc in this film is about admiring her determination for revenge. He arrives at the final confrontation. They have a brief scene shared together in a cage, which again, we didn't even get to see Lobo get captured, so like that felt really random. But anyway, they have a moment where they both express their desires for revenge. It's a very small and nice, genuine, it was a nice bonding moment between the two. And then he's there for Krem's death and just watches it happen. He just watches it, smiles, and then flies away into the sunset on his little motorbike. It felt like the film set him up to deliver the final blow, only to completely abandon that idea. And that's why I said earlier that, again, if you take away Lobo from the story, nothing really changes. It's exactly the same. So what's the point of having a character in here if he's not going to add anything to the story? Overall, I enjoyed Supergirl. As a standalone film, it does its job. But as an adaptation of one of DC's best modern comics, it completely misses the point. It generally feels like the only thing they adapted were the pictures, not the actual text on the comic. And I think that's the thing that really annoys me, because again, it's a really good comic, but I'm trying to set my bias aside. Today's meal is a burger turned into a taco. Surprisingly, it still tastes pretty good. There are plenty of enjoyable ingredients here, but if you ordered a burger and someone handed you this instead, you'd probably leave disappointed. I'm giving Supergirl a 5 out of 10. If you've never read the comic, I think there's a really good chance you'll enjoy it. Again, there is a good film there, but if you are a fan of the comic it's based on, please lower your expectations going into this film. Thank you so much for watching A Critic's Kitchen. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my channel because we have got a bunch more reviews just like this. Again, it's a brand new formula, so we're always adapting and changing. This is the first time I film with this sort of setup here, but that's what you get here, authenticity. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Leave a comment down below in terms of what you thought of Supergirl, what you want me to review next, and I will be sure to respond to every single one. And guys, remember, taste is subjective, both in food and in film. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Sorry for the voice, I'm a little bit groggy, but anyway, peace.